everyone, this is sammysaii, and today we're going to read together one of the most beloved children's books of all time, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So, The Little Prince is a timeless tale that has touched the hearts of all readers of all ages, since it was first published in 1943. It's a story about a young prince who travels from planet to planet, meeting fascinating characters and learning important life lessons along the way. Whether you're hearing this story for the first time or revisiting it, there's always something new to discover. So, everyone get comfy and let's read The Little Prince together. When I was 6, I gave up my magnificent career as an artist. I had to choose another profession, so I learned how to fly a plane. I lived all alone, without anyone I could really talk to, until 6 years ago when I made a crash landing in the Sahara Desert. Something had gone wrong with the plane's engine. On the first night, I fell asleep on the sand, 1,000 miles from the nearest civilization. So you can imagine my surprise when, at sunrise, a funny little voice woke me up, saying, "Please, draw me a sheep." Huh? Draw me a sheep. I leaped to my feet, as if I'd been struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes, and I saw the most extraordinary little man standing there, examining me from head to toe. I told him, I was quite annoyed, that I didn't know how to draw. He answered, "It doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." So I started to draw. He watched me closely. Then he said, "No, that one is already very sick. Draw another one." So I started to draw again. My friend smiled kindly. He said, "That's not a sheep. It's a ram. It has horns." So I scrawled out one last drawing. "This is a crate," I said. "The sheep you want is inside the crate." I was quite surprised when I saw my young judge's face light up. "That's just what I wanted. But do you think a sheep like this needs a lot of grass? Because where I come from, everything is really small." And that's how I first met the little prince. But it wasn't until much later that I finally understood where he had come from. I learned something very important. The planet he came from was barely bigger than a house. The little prince asked, "It's true, isn't it, that sheep eat bushes?" "Yes, that's right." "Oh, that's good. So they must eat baobabs too, right?" Because you see, there were some terrible seeds on the little prince's planet. Baobab seeds. The planet's soil was full of them. Now, with the baobab, if you allow it to grow too much, you can never get rid of it again. It will take over the whole planet. It will riddle the planet with roots. And if the planet is too small, and if there are too many baobabs, the planet will explode. The little prince pressed me with questions. "If a sheep eats bushes, does it eat flowers too?" "A sheep eats everything it finds." "Even flowers that have thorns?" "Yes, even flowers that have thorns." "Then what's the point of having thorns?" "There isn't any point. It's pure meanness on the part of the flower." After a brief silence, he burst out, rather grudgingly, "I don't believe you. What if I know a flower that is unique? A flower that doesn't exist anywhere else except on my planet?" And with that, he began to cry. I held him in my arms until he fell asleep. wasn't long before I heard all about this flower. It had sprouted one day from a seed that appeared out of nowhere. The little prince had kept a close watch on this tiny sprig that didn't look like any other sprig. The flower took ages and ages to bloom, to come out of its little green shelter of a bud. It took its time deciding what color to be. It dressed itself slowly, deliberately, adjusting its petals one by one. It didn't want petals all rumpled, like those of a puppy. Oh no, this was a very stylish flower. And then suddenly one morning, there she was.
Here I am,
The little blossom said.
I'm barely awake. I'm still all disheveled.
But the little prince couldn't contain his admiration.
How lovely you are,
He said. It wasn't long before the flower began to torment him with her vanity. One day, the flower said to the little prince,
I'm terrified of drops. You don't happen to have a shelter, do you?
Terrified of drops, are you? That's not a very good thing for a plant, is it? Remarked the little prince. Quite a complicated flower.
At night, I want you to put me under a glass cover. It's very cold here where you live.
And, to make sure the little prince had gotten the point, the flower coughed 2 or 3 times. So, despite his growing affection, the little prince began to grow unhappy. To escape his sadness, it seems the little prince hitched a ride with a wild flock of migrating birds. He traveled through the region of asteroids, 325, 326, 327. So, he began to visit them. The first one was inhabited by a king, but the little prince was astonished. The planet was so tiny that he wondered whatever could the king rule over. Over everything, the king answered simply. With a vague wave of his hand, the king pointed out his planet, the other planets, and all the stars.
And the stars too obey you?
Of course, the king answered. They too obey. I don't tolerate disobedience. The little prince was impressed by such a show of power. He said boldly, I'd like to see a sunset. Can you command the sun to set? You'll have your sunset, answered the king. I'll command it. It will be tonight around 7:40. Then you'll see how my commands are obeyed. The second planet was inhabited by a very vain man.
Aha! Here comes an admirer,
Cried the vain man from a distance as soon as he saw the little prince. Because, you see, to vain people, all other people are admirers.
Don't you just admire me to no end?
He asked the little prince.
What does admire mean?
Asked the little prince.
To admire means to acknowledge that I am the most handsome, the best dressed, the richest, and the most intelligent person on the planet.
But you're the only person on your planet.
And the little prince left.
Grown-ups are so strange,
He said to himself as he went on his way. The next planet belonged to a businessman. He was so busy that he didn't even look up when the little prince arrived.
3 and 2 make 5. Hello. 22 and 6. 28. Wow! That's 501,622,731.
500 million what?
Millions of those tiny things one sometimes sees in the sky.
Do you mean flies?
No, not those. The little glistening gold things that make lazy people daydream.
Oh, you mean stars. And what do you do with 500 million stars?
Nothing. I just own them.
But what do you do with them?
I count them, and then count them again.
The businessman said.
I own a flower that I water every day.
The little prince told him.
And it's a good thing for my flower that I own her. But you? You're not that useful to the stars.
And he went on his way. Once he'd reached Earth, the little prince was quite surprised not to see anyone. After a long walk across deserts, rocks, and tracts of snow, he discovered a garden of blossoming roses.
Good morning,
said the roses. The little prince gazed at them. They all looked just like his flower. He felt very sad. His flower had told him she was the only one of her kind in the whole universe. And here were 5,000 of them, all exactly the same, in just one garden. And he laid down on the grass and wept. That is when the fox appeared.
Good morning. I'm over here,
said a voice.
under the apple tree.
Who are you?
Asked the little prince.
You're very handsome.
I'm a fox.
Said the fox.
Come play with me.
The little prince suggested.
I'm so sad.
I can't play with you.
The fox said.
I'm not tamed.
Oh, excuse me.
Said the little prince.
What does tamed mean?
It means to create ties with.
The fox answered.
To me, right now, you're just a little boy. No different from 100,000 other little boys. And I don't need you. And you don't need me either. I am nothing to you but a fox like any other 100,000 foxes. But if you tame me, we'll need each other. You'll be the only boy in the world for me. I'll be the only fox in the world for you.
I am beginning to understand.
The little prince said.
There's this flower. I think she has tamed me.
If you tame me,
The fox said.
my life will be filled with sunshine. Look at the fields of wheat. I don't eat bread. To me, wheat is useless. But your hair is the color of gold, so it will be marvelous once you've tamed me. The wheat, which is golden, will remind me of you.
The fox fell silent and stared at the little prince for a long time.
Please, tame me.
He said.
I'd like to.
The little prince answered.
What do you have to do?
You have to be patient.
The fox answered.
First, sit down at a little distance from me, like this, on the grass. I'll watch you out of the corner of my eye. And you won't say anything. Words often lead to misunderstandings. Then, each day, you can sit a little closer to me.
The next day, the little prince came back.
It would have been better if you come back at the same time,
The fox said.
If, for example, you come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, by 3 o'clock, I'll start feeling happy. The closer it gets to 4 o'clock, the happier I'll be. But if you come at any old time, I'll never know when to prepare my heart for rejoicing.
So, the little prince tamed the fox. And then, it was time to leave.
You look like you're going to cry,
Said the little prince.
Yes, of course.
The fox said.
Then what's the point?
The point, said the fox, is the color of the wheat. That's my secret. It's very simple. One sees clearly only with the heart. Anything that is important is invisible to the eye.
Anything that is important.
The little prince repeated so that he wouldn't forget it.
Is invisible to the eye.
It's all the time you spent on your rose that makes your rose so important,
The fox said.
Once you've gained something, you're responsible for it forever. You are responsible for your rose.
By now, it was the 8th day after my crash landing in the desert, and I'd listened to this story as I drank the last drop of my water supply. So, we started walking. When we'd walked for hours, night fell, and the stars began to appear. The little prince said,
The stars are beautiful because of a flower we can't see. And what's beautiful about the desert is that it's hiding a well somewhere we can't see.
As the little prince was falling asleep, I picked him up and started out again. I found the well at daybreak. I lifted the pail up to his lips. He drank from it, eyes closed.
Where you're from,
Said the little prince,
people plant 5,000 roses in a single garden. But they don't find what they're looking for. And yet, what they're looking for can be found in a single rose or in a sip of water. But the eyes are blind. You have to search with your heart.
Beside the well, there was the ruin of an old stone wall. The next day, I saw my little prince from a distance, sitting up on it, his legs dangling. And I heard him say to someone,
Do you have some good venom? Are you sure you won't make me suffer a long time?
So, I bunnied over. It was one of those snakes that can kill you in 30 seconds. I reached the wall just in time to catch my good little prince, pale as snow, in my arms. He said,
I'm going home today. I've got your sheep, and I've got its crate. Tonight will mark 1 year. My star will be exactly above the place where I fell last year. I'm going to give you a gift because I live on one of the stars and will be laughing up there on one of them. Whenever you look up at the sky at night, to you it will seem as if all the stars are laughing. You will have stars that know how to laugh. It will be as if, instead of stars, I've given you a whole lot of little bells that know how to laugh.
I'm sure he got back to his planet, because at daybreak, I couldn't find him anywhere around. And at night, I love listening to the stars. It's like 500 million bells. And that's the end of the story, The Little Prince. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This wonderful story reminds us to look deeper, value our relationships, and keep the wonder and curiosity of a child alive in our hearts. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was nice reading with you all. Until next time, keep reading and never stop dreaming. Bye!